Good afternoon, Year 5. Just a reminder before we begin, if you can please watch the BBC bite-sized videos and complete the tasks on there before listening to this lesson. They are attached to the Year 5 webpage. It will only take you 5 minutes and then come straight back onto here for me, please. If you've done that, welcome to our first science lesson of our lockdown learning. So just the same as always, I'd like you to get your exercise books open, science at the top of the page, and underneath that today's LO, which is to understand different forms of reproduction, as well as today's date, Thursday, the 14th of January. Now, what we're going to look at today is we're going to quickly recap our human timeline, because I know you should have all done your timeline work that I set you over last week before we got started on our online learning. So we're just going to recap that first, and then we'll move on to reproduction afterwards and go into a little bit more detail about that. So the first stage of our human timeline, as I'm sure you should all know because you've all been through it, is your infancy stage. So this is when you are a baby or a toddler, so you're all very, very young. And it's important to know that at this stage, there's a fast rate of physical development. Your body is going through lots and lots of changes. You're growing, you're getting bigger, okay? So this is the first stage. We then move on to childhood. Now, this is the ages between 3 and 10. So this is where you guys are all at now. You're all in your childhood stage of your human timeline. And this stage, the physical developments are a little bit more steady. So you're not changing as much as when you were a baby, but there are still changes going ahead, particularly in the brain. Okay, so you're intaking a lot more information, so your brain is developing a lot more. So have a quick look at the timeline here from 3 to 10. So this is you guys here now, 9 and 10, most of you, I think. Okay, so you're coming to the end of this stage, and the next stage that you're all going to be looking forward to is your adolescent stage. Okay, so this is pretty much just your teenagers from 10 to 19. There's a lot of changes that go on your body during this stage. Okay, this is when puberty begins. So here, the puberty changes is when you might grow more hair on your face, and you become to experience a lot of change throughout your bodies, not only physical changes, but things like emotional changes as well. Different feelings are occurring throughout this adolescence stage. Now, we're going to go into more detail on this in a later lesson. So the next step is our early adulthood. So this is from ages 18, 19 to 39. So there are very few changes here. You've gone through most of your changes now, and you don't experience many physical changes, particularly not growth, throughout this early adulthood. Now, this is where the age at which most humans begin to do their reproduction. Okay, so this is an important thing to remember for later on. This is the stage where adults and humans begin to reproduce. The next stage then is your middle adulthood. So you've gone through all your changes, you've reproduced, and now this is where your body begins to get a bit old and a bit wary. So both male and female ability to reproduce also declines. So reproduction is a lot less. Your hair begins to go or maybe get grey in both men and women. So you can tell you're beginning to get a lot older. And then the next stage, the final stage, is your late adulthood or your old age. So this is from when you're 60 onwards, and you really do experience no growth at all here. There is no physical growth, although mental development is still possible. There is also a decline in health, so you become a lot less fit and a lot less healthy, which is why it's particularly important now with the COVID pandemic currently occurring. It's important we look after people of old age because their bodies cannot protect themselves against this virus at the moment, which is why it's important to make sure that old people at the moment are currently being very well looked after. Okay, now we're going to move on to types of reproduction now. So you briefly touched on it on your BBC Bite-Size video. So we've got two types. We've got asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. So asexual reproduction is when there's one parent produces new life. So just like we saw in the video, like the bacteria, it's split from 1 into 2. It divides itself into more than one. So it's reproducing. There's going to be more than one of it. So all the cells of the offspring are identical. Means it's a clone of the parent cell. So the one that reproduced, when it divides into more than one, Okay, these are all clones. They are identical to the original. Sexual reproduction is when two parents, one male and one female, are required to produce new life. So this is both with animals, including humans. Okay, so it's when a male sex cell, and so this includes like the sperm and pollen, are different versions of male sex cells fertilize with the female sex cell, the eggs. Okay, so they fuse together to produce new life, and this time the offspring, so the child that's produced, is not identical to the parents. It shows resemblance, okay, but it's not identical, not like it is in asexual reproduction. There are also some beings that can be both sexual and asexual reproduction. They can take part in both. So either one or two parents, some living things have the capacity to reproduce in sexually or asexually. Okay, so what I would like you to do now, Year 5, is we have a sorting activity for you to do. So on your worksheet, you have lots of pictures and the names of what they are below them, and I want you to sort all these pictures into a different category in the table. Now, I know some of you won't be able to print out the sheets, which is absolutely fine. So what you can do instead, you can draw a table very similar to this. You can do a portrait, landscape, I don't mind. And then you can draw in your images if you can't stick them in, and write below what it is for me. If you're struggling with the answers, that's absolutely fine. I want you to do some research for me. So have a look online, just type in. So for example, if it's a bacteria, you could type in, does bacteria asexually or sexually reproduce? I'm sure you'll find some information on there. You can then stick them into the correct category for me. Okay, hopefully that all makes sense for you guys, and I hope you've enjoyed your first science lesson of 2021, and I look forward to doing some more with you. Thank you very much, Year 5. Enjoy the rest of your day.